the availability of guns is driving an ever-increasing homicide rate. In the same way that a war on drugs is being prosecuted, in which we have been faithful partners in policing what comes through our waters or leaves our shores, there now must be a war on guns. Jamaica does not manufacture guns, but our population suffers from the effects.
This is just a couple questions from a DJ. Question: Kingston make no ear here. Question: who gun come in a here? Who want the wharf and the airport, the docks and the bay?
Jamaica does not manufacture guns.
On the black market, you can get a Walmart and Target. AK by the pallet and forklift, handgun by the barrel and basket. Big bounty gun in the country, we broke bone like crackers, we crunchy.
There now must be a war on guns.
Guns, Chinese, guns, Russian, guns, German, guns, and guns, Europe, guns, America, guns, this way, guns, small guns, Uzi, guns, Maki, guns, Turkey, guns, and guns, we make it, guns.
Welcome back to Primetime News. Exclusive footage this evening of the building where police were trapped for hours following a shootout with men armed with high-powered weapons. The incident happened in East Kingston on Sunday. As TVJ's Kirk Wright reports, the officers were left traumatized and are receiving counseling.
On the police guard on Tuesday, we went to see the building in which the cops from the Kingston Eastern Police Division were pinned down by gunmen on Sunday. For more than 3 hours on the weekend, this 8 by 10 feet unfinished structure was the sole shield for 6 policemen who came under fire from gunmen on Oliver Road in East Kingston. The more than 40 bullet holes we counted on the outside of the building alone tell the dreadful tale.
We have some guns, we put big hole through your lungs and tear off concrete columns. We have some guns, they nozzle them big like drum, skin bake like national buns. Big guns, we make detectives sight the crime scene, I wonder how come. Some guns, Magnum shot by the thugs, marshal set the law with the funds.
The building, perched on the hill, gave the gunmen an advantage. Now, 7 bullet holes in this area alone, and this is just a few of the many bullet holes in this building where 6 police officers took cover when gunmen fired at them for hours. They took cover right here. One policeman was here trying to shield off the gunmen, and this is where a bullet actually flew over his head. Now this should give the public an understanding of the trauma the policemen faced while they were here and gunmen hailed bullets at them. Our police sources say the gunmen were close enough to the trapped policemen in the building to have been taunting them that they were all trapped and were all going to die. We were showed some of the strategic points the gunmen used while shooting their high-powered weapons at the police, including the rooftops in nearby yards. The police called for backup. Their colleagues from Mobile Reserve responded but had trouble getting to them. All 6 police officers were rescued with minor injuries. The police say they picked up hundreds of spent shells after. The 6 policemen had gone to Oliver Road after receiving intelligence that men from Jarrett Lane were planning to attack persons from Oliver Road who were returning from a funeral. The police say the situation was so tense, Indicom investigators had to be escorted into the area the following day. Kirk Wright, TVJ News.
In policing what comes through our waters or leaves our shores, Jamaica does not manufacture guns.
Country a rifle we think are weighty. Couple 9 milli where we ship from 80. Why?
Saying that you think the government are giving weapons to gang members?
That's only how they get it. I know they can't go to the how you call that place?
Customs.
Customs.
Uh-huh.
You can't go to customs and go pick any guns up. Somebody got to be delivering the guns to you.
Right. And where do the guns come from?
Well, it could come from anywhere. It could come from, I would say most of the guns come from U.S.
Inside crime. Jamaica hatches new plan to seize illegal guns as murders soar. Arms trafficking. 10th of February 2022 by Scott Mitzler Ferguson. As attention continues to focus on Jamaica's spiraling homicides, the country's prime minister has promised to stem the violence by clamping down on illegal firearms, a proposition that is easier said than done. More than 90 guns have been seized as part of the government's Get Every Illegal Gun campaign, which launched in early February. The Jamaica Constabulary Force confiscated the latest batch at a gated community in Trelawney after a shootout that left a top gang member dead. Police seized 13 guns, including 3 M16, 2 AK-47, and 5 AR-15 rifles. When unveiling the initiative, Prime Minister Andrew Holness promised stricter penalties for illegal weapon possession, as well as an increase in police operations targeting illegal gun owners. The campaign also includes rewards to encourage residents to report illegal guns. People know where the guns are. All you have to do is pick up your phone and call, and you could get anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000, $1,600 to $3,200 US, depending on the gun, he said. Jamaica, meanwhile, remains engulfed by violence. The country has topped Inside Crime's homicide roundup 2 years in a row. Last year, the country recorded 1,463 killings, giving it a homicide rate that reached nearly 50 per 100,000 people. Inside Crime Analysis. While the campaign is a step to address soaring gun violence in Jamaica, the crackdown on illegal weapons faces a countervailing force, a constant flow of firearms smuggled into the country. Such campaigns have failed in the past to produce meaningful results due to a lack of focus on entry points for illegal guns. Anthony Clayton, a security expert and professor at Jamaica's University of the West Indies, told Inside Crime that the guns enter the country hidden in shipping containers. The guns are disassembled and mixed with auto parts to make them harder to detect during searches. To stop the smuggling requires inordinate cost and logistics, Clayton said. The U.S. is the primary source for Jamaica's illegal gun market, with hundreds of guns being smuggled in each month, according to a New York Times investigation. Haitian gangs are also providing their counterparts in Jamaica with arms. In 2020, Inside Crime reported that the illegal weapons trade between the two countries was worth roughly $1.5 million. Clayton estimated that 150 to 200 guns are smuggled to Jamaica from Haiti on a monthly basis. Most of these are old, low-caliber weapons known as rusty guns, while the U.S. market provides a high-powered firearms. What's more, stopping the flow of weapons from source countries remains unlikely. It would be wonderful if we could get the source countries to do more to shut off supply, Clayton said. But in Haiti's case, that would not be realistic to even expect them to be able to do very much. In the case of the United States, for political reasons, they are also unlikely to do very much. Clayton said that other forms of criminal activity in Jamaica are relatively stable or declining, whereas the one problem that remains obdurately and persistently high is the exceptional level of violence. There's a dreadful cycle of fear, aggression, and retaliation, he said. Even in community efforts to reduce violence have ended in grim headlines. In November 2021, the Jamaica Gleaner reported that a man was gunned down at a seminar for peace management and gender violence.
There now must be a war on guns.
163. That's how many guns have been seized by the police in the first 2 months of 2022. including the shipment in St. James yesterday. The cache of weapons is the largest haul by the Jamaica Constabulary Force in recent years. Jamila Maitland has our report.
On Monday, 7 dismantled firearms, which were hidden in television sets, were found during a routine search at the Seaboard Wharf in Montego Bay, St. James, after officers observed 3 abnormal-shaped TVs. Several rounds of ammunition were also found. According to the police, these are just some of the crafty ways criminals are using to conceal weapons destined to Jamaica. The weapons discovered on Monday came from Miami in the United States.
We subsequently seized 2 rifles, 1 submachine gun, 4 handguns, 8 magazines, and 16 rounds.
2 men who were listed as receivers of the shipment are now in police custody. Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson says this brings to 163 the total number of illegal firearms seized by the police since the start of 2022. It represents a more than 100% increase in the number of rifles seized compared to the similar period last year. Lottery scamming, drugs, and extortion are believed to be the main source of funding for the weapons.
These criminals are not using their ill-gotten gains to improve their communities. They are using their wealth to live lavishly, purchase guns, wage war against their rivals, and destroy the lives and livelihoods of ordinary citizens. These are not poor, destitute, unattached youth looking for help. They are increasingly wealthy and violent people.
Meanwhile, gang conflict is the main driver for the country's murder rate, now at -6%, and a marginal decline compared to the same period last year. The police say it represents 3/4 of the total number of murders recorded in Jamaica.
Of the 240 murders committed since the start of the year, 75% are gang-related, 12% arose from interpersonal disputes, 5% were committed in furtherance of other crimes, 1% were mob killings, and we still have 7%, which are still being attributed.
This week seized 13 guns, including 10 high-powered rifles, during an operation in the Florence Hall housing scheme. 36-year-old Kevin Carpenter, an alleged gangster, was shot dead. Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson said the operation by the Area 2 Police Fugitive Apprehension Team is a continuation of a crackdown on guns, gunmen, and gangs. He also released a video saying gunmen are moving uptown.
They have acquired wealth and are living in gated communities. This is why it is important for persons, even in upscale communities, who see strange activities or persons to provide information to the police.
And Prime Minister Andrew Holness has announced a new Get the Guns campaign that will see people getting from $250,000 to $500,000 for illegal guns.
Major General Anthony Anderson updated the nation on Wednesday on matters of security. 133 murders have been committed since the start of the year, which is 17% less than the comparative figures for last year. Over 82 illegal firearms have been recovered since the start of 2022. Marlon Samuels gives us the details.
2022 has begun with at least 133 homicides, but the police commissioner says the JSAF is making inroads in the crime fight. There are now 88 less illegal guns on the streets.
88 guns since the beginning of January. We've recovered 13 rifles, and that's the most rifles we have seized in the month of January since before 2011. We've also recovered 59 pistols, which amounts to an overall 17% increase in firearm seizures over last year. Now, these are the main implements used by gunmen and gangs to create death, mayhem, and pain.
To drive home the point, the commissioner displayed a seized AK-47 rifle.
This is, ladies and gentlemen, a weapon of war. This is not the normal weapon that a robber in another country would use. This is a weapon of war. And this is what is in our communities, and this is what our people are facing. And this and other illegal firearms is what creates a situation in Jamaica where for over 25 years, we crossed the threshold for 1,000 murders, and it has persisted. So here we have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we're recovering. This is what we're taking off the roads. But make no mistake about it, more are still out there.
Major General Anderson noted that there has been a 6% decrease in homicides compared to 2021 figures. Meanwhile, all other major crimes have also gone down. Rape is seeing a reduction of 67%, robbery 14%, shootings 21%, and break-ins 11%. The police say all major crimes combined are down 19%. For the news on PBCJ, I am Marlon Samuels.
2 men are now in custody in relation to yesterday's gun find at the Seaboard Wharf in Montego Bay, St. James. The men were listed as the receivers of the shipment, which originated from Miami. U.S. gun fuel Jamaica's gang wars. Ships from Miami steam into Jamaica's main harbor, loaded with TV sets and blue jeans. But some of the most popular U.S. imports never appear on the manifest: handguns, rifles, and bullets. June 21, 2009. Source: The Associated Press. Ships from Miami steam into Jamaica's main harbor loaded with TV sets and blue jeans. But some of the most popular U.S. imports never appear on the manifest: handguns, rifles, and bullets that stoke one of the world's highest murder rates. The volume is much less than the flow of U.S. guns into Mexico that end up in the hands of drug cartels. Jamaican authorities recover fewer than 1,000 firearms a year, but of those whose origin can be traced, 80% come from the U.S., Jamaican law enforcement officials have said in interviews with the Associated Press. And as the Obama administration cracks down on smuggling into Mexico, Jamaicans fear even more firearms will reach the gangs whose turf wars plague the island of 2.8 million people. It's going to be a push, a lot of that trade back toward the Caribbean like it was back in the 80s, said Vance Callender, an attaché at the U.S. Embassy in Kingston for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. U.S. authorities are beginning to target the Jamaican gun smuggling network as part of a broad effort to boost security in the Caribbean. Tip of the iceberg. But they have a long way to go. Jamaican authorities have confiscated only 100 guns coming into ports in the last 5 years, along with 6,000 rounds of ammunition. That in turn is just a fraction of the 700 or so weapons confiscated on the streets each year. Authorities know they're only seeing the tip of the iceberg, said Mark Shields, Jamaica's deputy police commissioner. With arsenals to rival police firepower, the gangs are blamed for 90% of the homicides in Jamaica, 1,611 last year. That would be in 2008. About 10 times more than the U.S. rate relative to population. Unlike in Mexico, the vast majority of Jamaican guns seized are submitted for tracing. Jamaica and the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives find most of the seized weapons come from 3 Florida counties: Orange, Dade, and Broward, all with large Jamaican populations, according to Shields. X-ray scanners were installed 2 years ago, that would be in 2007, at Jamaican ports, but the gangs use bribery and intimidation to get their shipments past inspectors. In April, a newly hired customs supervisor had his tires slashed and days later was shot at on his way home from work, authorities say. The man was known for his strict scrutiny of cargo coming into a gang-infiltrated warehouse on the Kingston Wharf. When the gangs apply pressure, no one says no, said Danville Walker, Jamaica's Commissioner of Customs. Lax gun laws, shipping rules. It's a massive problem, said Leslie Green, a Jamaican Assistant Police Commissioner. There aren't any checks or any controls on goods leaving the United States. Yet anything leaving here, we have to make sure it's double-checked and triple-checked for drugs. This complaint that Americans care only what comes in, not what goes out, echoes that of Mexican authorities, who say cars going from the U.S. into Mexico aren't searched for weapons or cash. Now, hundreds of agents are participating in a $95 million outbound inspection program, stopping suspicious-looking cars and trucks as they cross the border into Mexico. Authorities don't know how many firearms get through, but more than 12,000 guns used in crimes in Mexico last year were sent to U.S. authorities for tracing, a number that grows as more agencies in Mexico are trained to submit traces. Friends, family do most of smuggling. The U.S. and Jamaica both prohibit the unlicensed transport of guns. But like Mexican smugglers, Jamaican ones depend on lax U.S. gun laws, corrupt customs inspectors, and frontmen acting as buyers. Florida gun laws make it relatively easy to buy a legal firearm, and much of the smuggling is done by family and friends, said Shields, the Jamaican police official. The guns are concealed in container loads of blue plastic and cardboard barrels, the kind Jamaicans use to send household goods to their families on the island. Some shipping companies advertise a no-question-asked policy in soliciting customers, said Walker, the custom commissioner. He declined to single out individual companies. In one of the few Jamaican gun smuggling cases prosecuted in the U.S., Tawana Banton, 36 of Florida, was convicted of buying a Glock handgun later used in the gang killing of 4 island police officers. She said her Jamaican boyfriend arranged the purchase, and she was paid $15,000 to buy the handgun and a .50 caliber Grizzly rifle with a tripod mount, according to court documents. She told ATF agents the guns were then hidden inside kitchen appliances and driven to Miami for shipment to Kingston. Banton pleaded guilty to making false statements to the gun dealer in 2006 and served a month in prison. Wow, that's it? Anti-smuggling efforts underway. Besides coming in on freighters, authorities say guns are stolen or purchased from crooked police or in guns for ganja deals by fishermen who bring homegrown marijuana to nearby Haiti and return with pistols, revolvers, submachine guns, many of them believed to be from the U.S. as well. Calendar's ICE unit began investigations in Jamaica last year with a focus on guns. He said agents in Miami and New York have been working to interject themselves into the shipping networks. Indictments are imminent in 2 or 3 cases involving suspected Jamaican traffickers inside the U.S., he said, without elaborating. Then there's the $45 million Caribbean Basin Security Initiative on Regional Security announced by U.S. President Barack Obama in April, which is designed to help the islands counter any spillover of violence from Mexico. Meanwhile, at the ports, Jamaican customs officials are training more spotters to patrol the warehouses, including 5 in Kingston, who process an average of 10 shipping containers daily. But inspectors feel the odds are still stacked against them. The guys we're up against, they have time, they have money, and they're very resourceful, said Andrew Lamb, a supervisor with Jamaica Customs Contraband Enforcement Team. They're pretty good at what they do.
7 firearms and 16 rounds of 9mm cartridges were seized. It's understood the members of the Customs Department were carrying out routine inspections of shipped cargo when they observed abnormal shapes in a television. A more detailed check was made and it was realized that items were stored inside the televisions. The police were alerted, and during a search of all 3 television sets that were part of a shipment, the following guns were found: 1 RR Armory rifle, 1 AK-15 rifle, 1 Ruger submachine gun, 2 Taurus 9mm pistols, 1 Koenig 9mm pistol, and 1 Ruger 9mm pistol, along with 8 magazines and 16 rounds of 9mm cartridges.
Enforcement agencies are assisting local police to track down the persons behind the shipment of guns and ammunition, which were seized yesterday at the Free.
We know the people who are doing it. Yes, write that statement down.
Port Wharf in St. James. This was disclosed by Head of Area 1 Police Assistant Commissioner Clifford Chambers in an interview with Radio Jamaica News. ACP Chambers said the police were called to the wharf about 6 o'clock yesterday evening.
Based on observed irregularities, a shipped container was opened by members of the contraband enforcement team in the presence of police, and found in the container were 19 handguns, 6 rifles, 13 magazines for pistol, 9 rifle magazines, and 474 assorted ammunition. Based on the find, a high-level investigation is now on the way involving local and international counterparts. It must be noted that this is the second major seizure at the wharf in recent years, as in 2018, a similar seizure was made for which a gang leader was investigated and prosecuted.
Now 30 handgun magazines, 9 rifle magazines, 6 Glock speed loaders, and 12 Glock bag straps were also seized.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness is warning to persons involved in the illegal gun trade. Now, he was speaking today at a groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of the Little London Police Station in Westmoreland. Anthony Lugg reports.
Too many illegal guns are coming through our legal ports.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness addressing issues of national security in Westmoreland on Thursday. Between January 1 and March 31, the police seized 223 legal firearms. That's a 14% increase over the 195 seized during the same period last year. But despite the success, concerns continue to grow about who's responsible for bringing illegal firearms into the country.
We know the people who are doing it. Yes, write that statement down. We know. But we're not going to go after one little person. Our strategy is to take down networks.
80% of Jamaica's homicides are committed by the gun. And Mr. Holness insists a strategy is being crafted to remove the profit out of crime.
We want to get the customs officer that is facilitating the gun coming through the port. We want to get the man that works in the bank that is allowing the currency to be transferred either into the country or out of the country. We want to get the person who is hiding the guns.
The Joint Anti-Gang Task Force, which was recently launched, has made several arrests and seizures since it was rolled out in February. Mr. Holness says much more focus is being given to intelligence and evidence gathering.
For the parish of Westmoreland, I appeal to the people to cooperate with their security forces. The people who we have put here to lead the security forces, they have special directions. Those who are the bad apples, they will be moved. And they will be prosecuted when we have the evidence on them.
Anthony Lugg, TVJ News.
Begin with news of a major gun find in St. James this morning. 5 suspects have been taken into custody in connection with the find. 2 assault rifles and an Intratec submachine gun, along with nearly 30 rounds of ammunition, were seized this morning in the community of Canterbury. About 7 a.m., members of a joint police-military team carried out a targeted operation along King Street in search of a fugitive who goes by the alias KJ. During a search of the premises, the wanted suspect and other individuals were held. The security forces seized an AK-47 rifle and a magazine, along with a Colt AR-15 rifle.
Along with those weapons, we also seized 25 rounds of 5.56mm cartridges, commonly used in the AR-15 and the M16 rifle. We also seized 2 7.62mm rounds used in the AK-47 weapon. This operation this morning was aimed at targeting the Crux Nation gang, which operates within the Canterbury community.
Police have made yet another major gun seizure, this time in St. Catherine. 9 guns, including 3 M16 rifles, were seized during an operation on the Edward Seaga Highway. Anthony Lugg reports.
2 men being whisked away in handcuffs Friday night, shortly after the discovery of several high-powered weapons in St. Catherine. Reports indicate that the police, acting on information, carried out an operation along the Edward Seaga Highway in the vicinity of the Linstead exit. Deputy Commissioner Fitz Bailey spoke with our news team.
2 cars were intercepted and we discovered a significant amount of weapons. So far, I can say we have identified at least 3 high-powered weapons in the consignment. The search is continuing.
By early Saturday morning, the figures had increased. The total, 9 guns and 440 rounds of assorted ammunition.
These weapons are not here to as toy. They are here to kill people, to take lives.
It's early days yet, and already 2 persons are in custody. The police say criminals are intent on getting their firearms into the country. However, DCP Bailey says the police will not let up.
And I think it's time for us as Jamaicans to become aware of the reality. This is a crisis.
Up to May 27, 594 people were murdered in the country. That's a 7% increase when compared to the same period last year. 80% of the country's homicides are committed by the gun. DCP Bailey says the level of crime and violence in Jamaica requires stronger legislation.
In the House of Representatives on Wednesday with the support of opposition members of the House. Despite major concerns from opposition leader Mark Golding, he emphasized the problem of violent crime in the country is a chronic one. The bill, which among other punitive measures, proposes a mandatory minimum sentence of 15-year imprisonment for illegal gun possession.
This is a situation that we must arrest and bring an end to. It will not be an overnight solution, whatever happens, but at least if we can reverse the cycle or reverse the trend to move from a position where it's getting worse and worse to one where it's getting better and better, we will have achieved a lot as parliamentarians.
Golding, however, pointed out a few concerns as it relates to the court, noting that the judiciary plays a critical role in the justice system. In closing the debate, National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang advises that the structure for mandatory sentencing will still allow the judges to issue the certificate.
The view is that the illegal firearm, the prohibited weapon as we know define it, has been such a source of terror and caused a murder and mayhem in communities. We have to send a strong signal to the society that no aspect of it will be permitted under the government's this new law.
Dr. Chang reassures that this new bill will not impair any innocent individual.
We think we have a formula that will be able to identify clearly the owner and traders and managers of the illegal firearm before the court and allow the court to prosecute them appropriately.
The Firearms Act also recommends life imprisonment for possession of 3 or more illegal guns not eligible for parole before 20 years. Justin Graham reporting for CVM Live.
And more support from law-abiding citizens.
And we are going to continue to fool ourselves if we believe that the level of violence and crime that we are seeing is normal. And when there's abnormal situation, we need to find a different way. There is no police force in the world that can investigate 1,600 homicides or 1,400 homicides per year. It's almost impossible. And I think the way forward is for citizens to cooperate with the law enforcement agency.
As we mentioned earlier, law enforcement officials will soon be authorized to switch real guns with fake guns in a bid to catch criminals. It's among the changes to the new firearms law, which was retabled in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. Andrea Chisholm tells us more.
From time to time, illegal guns and ammunition are found at the ports in Jamaica. The authorities are working to catch those responsible by introducing a new provision in the firearms bill for controlled delivery.
In layman's terms, Mr. Speaker, if a shipment of firearms is identified, the police commissioner or any of the heads of the relevant agencies have the authority to have those firearms replaced by fake items looking the same as available, like the firearms you use in a movie.
He literally said, like the firearm that they use in a movie. I hope you understand what he's suggesting. Replace real guns with fake guns.
And have them replaced and shipped and delivered.
Authorized personnel will include the police commissioner, chief of defense staff, the head of the Major Organized Crime and Anti-Corruption Agency MOCA, as well as the commissioner of customs.
Furthermore, there is a new clause 102, which makes it an offense to assault or obstruct, hinder or resist an authorized officer. A fine of $1 million is prescribed for such an offense.
The definition of a firearm will also be changed to include 3D printed weapons printed through the use of electronic software. Provisions have also been made to protect licensed importers from penalties if the firearms do not bear a mark.
He's not immediately subject to the kind of penalties associated with the illegal firearm. The firearm, of course, will be detained and he'll be given the opportunity to prove his innocence, of course. In fact,
a firearm leaving or coming into Jamaica should display, among other things, the type, the country where it was made, name of the manufacturer, serial number, and the caliber. In the meantime, despite arguments against the move, the government insists on keeping the mandatory minimum sentence. Persons could get a minimum of 15 years in prison if found with an illegal weapon. Members of the parliamentary opposition who sat on the Joint Select Committee which examined the bill tabled a minority report.
The opposition members of the committee are of the view that mandatory sentencing removes the discretion of a judge to consider mitigating aspects of the sentencing. A first offender with a previously unblemished record is treated the same as a person of unsavory reputation. This clause fails to acknowledge the realities that in some communities, persons might have no choice but to conceal a weapon at the dictates of another person. As a parliament and country, we must always be careful not to pander to extremism in a justifiable search for urgent solutions. Rather, we must at all times seek balance, informed by lessons of our experiences as a country.
Hello people, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time on the channel, a special welcome to you. I ask that you check out the rest of my videos. If you like what you see, give them a thumbs up, leave a comment, but more than anything, I'm asking that you subscribe to the channel. Today, I'm gonna be making a comment on what I heard the Commissioner of Police in Jamaica, Major General Anthony Anderson made. So, Major General Anthony Anderson, who is the Commissioner of Police. I was just scrolling on TikTok and I came across a video that showed Commissioner of Police Anthony Anderson making a comment about gun laws in Jamaica or the amended gun laws in Jamaica. First of all, let me say, where Anthony Anderson is concerned, the Commissioner of Police, I personally like him. Never met the man, but you know, we Jamaicans, we say, we see somebody and we spirit tech them, you know, or we like that person, or you get a good vibe off that person. Don't know if he's a good cop, don't know if he's a corrupt cop, but he seemed intelligent. I've followed a lot of his commentaries, and it seemed like he has a grasp on crime. He knows what he's doing. So that and his essence, his whole personality from what I see from afar, I like Anthony Anderson. So as much as I'm going to criticize what he says, I just want to put that in there that I do like Anthony Anderson, and I wish that he continued to do his work, and I wish that Jamaica curb guns and violent crimes more and more with him being in the position as Commissioner of Police. And saying that, I hope that whoever takes over when the day comes that he retires will continue to do the same work, or if not, a better job.
There's no purpose for an illegal firearm but to kill somebody. There's no animal. We don't have nothing to hunt. We don't have anything else to do with the gun. It cannot chop cane and it cannot peel fruits. It's not a knife, it's not a machete, it's a gun. It has one purpose, and that is to shoot people. And an illegal gun is there to shoot people and do murders. That's what it's there for. Now, we've done a lot of lobbying. Yesterday, the new Firearms Act passed the Lower House and is on its way to the Senate. What that means is that for those people in the illegal gun trade, whether you possess it, traffic it, transport it, bring it into the country, or whatever you do with it, you will be facing sentences of 15 years and upwards. You know what that means? I want you to know this has significant impact. It means that the guy who you saw with the gun and gets caught, you don't have to worry about him again for a long, long time. That is, for us as the police officers, that will make a huge difference, because the team in Westmoreland has seen these guys like a revolving door. They've been in our custody, they've been out, they've been charged for illegal purse, they have paid their fine, they've gotten there 1 year and they're back out to do the same things that they were doing.
All right, that's what I heard. That's what I came across in TikTok. I believe the channel is called Jamaica Views. Jamaica Views, whoever you are, big up yourself, because it just came on my TikTok timeline and I was happy to hear it. This is how I feel about the comment that Anthony Anderson made. Because from what Mr. Anderson was saying is that people with a legal firearm usually get a maximum of a year, and they go into prison and they come right back out and they do the very same thing. So I agree, 1 year, that's not enough for a penalty for having the position, to be in possession of an illegal firearm. 15 years, it's sufficient. It's heavy, and it will, hopefully, it will deter certain people from having the mindset of possessing an illegal firearm. So I'm all for that. What I don't agree with is that illegal firearms hurt people and kill people. All firearms hurt people and kill people, legal or illegal. And as I've said before, well, in my writing I've said it, a firearm in the hands of an idiot is more dangerous than the firearm itself. And what I'm saying is there's a lot of Jamaicans that have firearms now. When I was a child in Jamaica, that was unheard of. So I don't know if firearms in people's hand is financially benefiting the government. Must be, because all of a sudden Jamaica is just flooded with legal firearms. For what? There are societies around the world, like the UK, that doesn't allow private citizens to have firearms like Jamaica and the US does. And you can see the significant difference in murders or shooting. It's a rare occurrence, if ever. And then again, you have countries like Switzerland, where I currently live, that almost every household has a firearm. But still, shooting and murders by gunshots are unheard of in Switzerland. So 6.5 dozen is the same. I guess on one hand, you could look at it that if nobody having a firearm, you're sure that no one will get shot. And at the same time, if people with a sensible mindset or a responsible mindset has firearms, like in Switzerland, people won't get shot. But where Jamaica is concerned, Jamaica is facing a crisis at the moment, and we need a solution as fast as possible. So my criticism towards Mr. Anderson's comment is only to say, gun skill, legal or illegal. It's not like it's unheard of that Jamaicans are not of we say ignorant. It's not the right word, ignorant. Jamaicans are known to be fast to anger. Genes, culture, I don't know. We're fast to anger than most black people in general. I don't know if we carry that oppressive bloodline and we're quick to get fed up. But what I'm saying is, legal or illegal firearm can kill people. So, there are criminal elements in Jamaica, so I have to consider that. And if you're running a business, you'd like to have a firearm because people can still come and try to rob you with knives and machete and whatever, one-pop, makeshift handguns. They do exist. I'm quite aware of those. So when I was a child, business people used to have guns. Now everybody have guns in Jamaica. People who don't even have a business, just to have a gun, because I can have a gun, because the Jamaican law says I can have a gun. And that bothers me to an extent, because that's an American lifestyle. I'm aware of that in the United States of America. It's in their constitution. It's their constitutional right to bear arms. Why are us Jamaicans adapting to that? Why? Why do we want to have guns? Legal or illegal? Police officers can have guns. Security guards can have guns. Members of the defense forces can have guns. But why do private citizens need guns? Especially those who are not business owners, who does not have a property to protect. This is my concern. And this is my belief that Jamaica is going down the wrong road by having this distribution of guns. Mr. Anderson also says, if you should see someone with an illegal gun, pretty much this is what he said. This wasn't his words, but this is what he said. If you see someone with an illegal gun and you snitched, you don't have to worry about that person for a long time. Yes and no, a long time. You may not have to worry about that person, but you still have to worry about that person, because 15 years is still a time. It will run out at some point. He will be released at some point. And also, what about his colleagues? What about his ties? What about his crew? It's very rare that these individuals with illegal guns roll solo. So as much as, again, I'm all for the act, seems like it's not passed yet because that's to go to the Senate. I'm all for that.
Been an advocate for law-abiding citizens to have firearms to defend themselves based on the crime situation there in Jamaica and the fact that majority of murders that we're seeing in Jamaica are committed with firearms and done by criminals. Right? I think a statistic that came out 2 years ago showed that more than 80% of all murders in Jamaica were committed with firearms.
Rifles are among the finds after a joint police-military team carried out targeted operations at a number of premises on Hacker Lane in Norwood, St. James. The operation happened between the hours of 4:30 and 10 Saturday morning. Commanding officer for St. James, Superintendent Vernon Ellis, tells CVM Live that the early morning operation saw several units in the Jamaica Constabulary Force swooping down on the premises.
The security forces went in, conducted multiple targeted raids. The fugitive team, the JDF members from the K9 and the Caribbean Search Center. During the operation, 3 high-powered weapons were seized, 2 AK-47 rifles and 1 M16, several assorted rounds of 7.62, 5.56, .40 and 9mm cartridges were also seized.
And the security forces have recovered 2 more high-powered illegal weapons from the nation's streets, this time in St. James. An AK-47 rifle and an American tactical rifle were seized by a joint police-military team on Friday. The team was on patrol in the Birchill area of St. James when a man was seen exiting a BMW motor vehicle with a box. Now the man dropped the box and ran when he was approached by the lawmen. The box was searched and the weapons found. 2 cartridges and 324 rounds of ammunition were also recovered.
Good afternoon, it's Tuesday, January 12. I'm Giovanni Dennis with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're joining us online at onespotmedia.com. No arrests have been made in connection with Monday's major gun bust at the Freeport Wharf in St. James. 19 firearms, including 6 high-powered rifles and just over 470 assorted rounds of ammunition, were seized. A multi-agency investigation is now underway as the police seek to identify the people responsible for importing the illegal items. It's reported that the police, acting on information, went to the port about 6 p.m. A barrel was scanned and found to contain anomalies. The firearms and ammunition were found inside a black travel bag in the barrel.
8 illegal firearms were found during a major police operation at the National Stadium East Field and in the Nannyville community. Now the search is ongoing, and as Jamila Maitland now reports, the criminals have found clever ways to conceal the guns.
Police officers at work in a section of Nannyville close to the National Stadium East Field. It's where 3 illegal firearms were found and several rounds of ammunition Monday morning. It's the second consecutive day of what Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of crime, Fitz Bailey, is describing as an intelligence-led search of the area.
This is what you call A1 intelligence that we are seeing, and we have spoken about the hit rates, and we are getting better at what we do when we make reference to hit rate. This is what we are talking about, how the result after each intelligence package. And this is a classical one.
Now the operation here in search of the illegal firearms in Stadium East is still underway. And according to the police, they're not letting up. Of the 3 illegal firearms found so far, 2 of them were hidden in construction materials like that one.
Crime is not a police problem, it's everybody's business. And what you saw on this operation, the unique way and the pain that these criminals will go at to conceal their weapons. But we are prepared for it, we are prepared for the task, and as I said yesterday, this is just a foretaste of what is coming.
The other weapon was found in a section of Stadium East. The police say it's part of an assault rifle. And about 2 hours after our news team left the area, more guns were discovered. An AK-47 and an M16 rifle, as well as 65.56 cartridges. A ballistic vest was also found. On Sunday, the police found 3 guns and ammunition, including 2 magazines buried on the field. 1 person has been taken into custody in relation to the find. Meanwhile, Commissioner of Police Major General Anthony Anderson says the find brings to more than 30 the number of guns that have been found since the weekend.
Of course, there's a frustration, there's fear. So part of this is to allay some of those fears. You have all the other major crimes going down and homicide is flaring. So we have to relook, recalibrate, look at what is causing that particular thing and hit it directly.
I'm Damian Mitchell, and this is Jamaica Now. A major transnational probe is now underway into the seizure of 119 firearms destined for Jamaica. The weapons, including 4 rifles, were busted at the Miami International Airport by Customs and Border Protection agents. The shipment, including a large cache of ammunition, was packed in 2 barrels and cardboard boxes declared as domestic items. National Security Minister Robert Montague says the seizure was the result of joint intelligence operations between Jamaican and American law enforcement agencies.
Those weapons are very expensive, and they never came in to go to the church. The question is, who paid for them and where were they going? And what was the real purpose? And who stands to benefit from the use of these firearms against the citizens of Jamaica?
In the meantime, it is reported that the guns and ammunition were to be collected by a female in Montego Bay. The female has been identified as a former employee of a former deputy mayor of Montego Bay. The shipment was due to be exported from Miami to Montego Bay on a flight on November 20. The sender was a female who resides in Coral Spring, Pompano Beach, Florida.
Earlier today, the police were on foot patrol and walked through in the South Swing Space. A group of men would have saw the police and ran. The police would have conducted searches after, where 4 firearms were found. 3 AR-15 rifle and 1 Smith & Wesson pistol. A follow-up operation was conducted in which 1 man was held with a firearm and he is arrested.
Okay, so you have found 5 now then?
Yes, so we have 5 firearms now in our possession.
So you were just here doing regular walkthrough?
Yes, so we're just doing regular walkthrough and intervention. As you know, the South Spring area has seen a flare-up in violence over the past few months, and we're just doing our regular walkthrough and intervention in the place. While the police were on the walkthrough, some men would have run. The police would have gave chase. The men would have managed to escape. However, a subsequent search of the area would have revealed these firearms.
Okay.
So we are targeting the gangs and the guns. So we will continue to carry out operations in the St. James Division, targeting the gangsters. We are also asking the citizens of St. James to work with us, to tell us what they know by calling us, or they can call 311, or they can call any police station and give information.
This is a major find, obviously, for the parish at this time. When was it that you found anything close to what you found today? I know you're new to the parish, but maybe one of the other...
I just want to say something. The Gleaner has a bad habit. Star, Jamaica Star, Online Gleaner, they have this terrible, terrible habit of interviewing people, and the sound quality is either A, poor, B, people around who they're interviewing is making a lot of background noises, right? If you notice, when it's anybody in the political office, you know, your prime minister, your MPs, they don't have this issue. They're given the respect. Those interviews are conducted professionally. But when they're interviewing police, soldier, and just everyday regular citizens, this is the type of quality that we get. It could be, I remember a house had burnt down and the woman is being interviewed and the person in the background was just shoveling and shoveling and shoveling. Another time, it was a mother and daughter, and they were sharing their plight. You know, just how rough and how hard life has been in the home that they were in. And the dog wouldn't stop barking, and they continued to conduct the interview through all that noise. This is terrible. This is poor journalism.
Other persons standing next to you, maybe?
Well, consistently, the St. James divisions has been finding a lot of weapons. This brings our tally now to 78 weapons since the start of the year. We were at 73 prior to this operation, now we're at 78. So consistently we've been doing a lot of snap raids and stop and search where weapons have been found. In recent time though, in the last 2-3 months, this is the largest find.
St. James division has been very consistent as it relates to the recovery of firearms. We continue to go at the gangsters and we continue to carry out our operational activities. The VCPs, the road policing activities has also helped us very much. We have reaped success in that regard also.
These weapons looked pretty new.
Yes, the weapons, as you see, they are very, very new weapons. The 3 AR-15 rifles appears as if they just come out of plastic. So they are very new weapons. And these guys, they have the resources and they consistently purchase these high-powered weapons. But as I said before, we will continue to go at them and we continue to seize illegal firearms because we want to ensure that the citizens of Salt Spring and St. James and also Jamaica as a whole are safe.
Police have made another big gun seizure. Early Friday afternoon, 21 guns were found at a warehouse in West Kingston. The cache comprised 18 pistols, 3 rifles, and a significant quantity of bullets. The find comes days after 7 guns were seized at a port in Montego Bay, St. James on Monday. The 3 M16 rifles and 4 pistols were hidden in television sets. 9 magazines were also seized. In January, 20 guns and 40 magazines were seized at the Sangster International Airport, also in Montego Bay.
Since the beginning of 2021, the security forces have removed 170 illegal firearms from the nation's streets, the popular weapon of choice in the alarming rate of murders. The police statistics suggest 29 more weapons have been seized when compared to the corresponding period in 2020. Security expert and chairman of the private sector organization Standing Committee on National Security, retired Lieutenant Commander George Overton, tells CVM Live the increase in gun seizures may be attributed to 2 things.
I think there is an increased level of cooperation from the public, because I think the wider public is fed up with what is happening, but I also believe that the police are doing some very good work.
He says as the security forces conduct joint operations to seize weapons and ammunition, ports of entry should also be targeted.
The ports of entry, the unregistered ports of entry where canoes and small vessels come and go. We have heard about aircraft coming and going with firearms. We have certainly seen the evidence of firearms in barrels and shipments coming into the country.
He believes fewer illegal guns on the streets will likely result in a reduction in murders. The security expert says stronger penalties should also emerge as another measure used to rid the nation of illegal guns.
I don't believe the penalties that we have on our books today for the illegal possession of our illegal firearm is enough of a deterrent.
And as the security forces continue to remove illegal guns, Overton says efforts should be increased to rid the country of brazen criminals who've murdered hundreds of Jamaicans annually.
Because a lot of us are deeply worried about the increase in the number of murders, particularly those by the gun.
Christine.
Evening, 1 man is dead, a woman taken into police custody, and 13 guns seized in a police operation in Florence Hall, Trelawney. The police say it was a multi-agency operation involving intelligence from at least 3 parishes. Jamelia Maitland has our report.
Residents of the usually quiet, gated community Florence Hall village in Trelawney woke up to loud explosions and a heavy security presence Thursday morning. And when the smoke cleared, one man was found dead. He's been identified as 36-year-old Kevin Lenny Carpenter, who, according to the police, is no stranger to them. Carpenter is reportedly a top-tier member of the compound gang that operates in the parish.
The deceased is related to a gang leader who was arrested and charged with murder and was granted bail with the condition that he remain out of the Westmoreland Division except on court day. And the address given as his condition of bail is the home address of the deceased in the fatal shooting this morning.
A woman and 2 children were also found in the home. They were not physically harmed. But that wasn't all. The police found a suitcase of high-powered weapons. The guns were disjointed and had to be reassembled. The result? 10 rifles, 2 submachine guns, and a pistol along with a cache of ammunition.
There are several theories around what the operations involving these firearms, and we're looking at all. And we're encouraging the public to share whatever they know.
Meanwhile, Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson says the gangs are using the wealth acquired through illegal operations to hide in upscale communities. He says the criminal networks have far advanced and are being financed by overseas players as well.
Gunmen are moving uptown. They have acquired wealth and are living in gated communities. This is why it is important for persons, even in upscale communities, who see strange activities or persons to provide information to the police.
Thursday's seizure brings to 91 the number of illegal firearms seized by the police since the start of the year. Jamila Maitland.
The police are also reporting that 8 men have been arrested in relation to the seizure. Superintendent Ellis notes that a quantity of drugs was also...
Wait a minute. Isn't this the same canine dog that we seen not too long ago? In maybe 2 videos back, I believe. Shuffling and scuffling through the same yellow piece of clothing. So what is going on here? I'm going to tell you what's going on here. These news stations, these journalists, they're just looping and showing us the same weapons, the same ammunitions, the same community, and just putting different names and different numbers on what they're showing us. Okay, there's a game being played. That's how it's going down.
Seized through the deployment of a canine unit.
The canine teams with the search dogs and the Caribbean Search Center, they were exceptional in the execution of their functions this morning.
A major probe is now underway into the seizure of 20 handguns and 40 magazines at the cargo section at the Sangster International Airport in Montego Bay, St. James. Head of the Area 1 Police, Assistant Commissioner Clifford Chambers, said a joint investigation is underway by the Jamaica Customs Agency, the St. James Police Division, and the Counter-Terrorism and Organized Crime Investigations Branch.
Whilst this put a dent in the gun smuggling operation, we want to advise that irrespective of how organized these criminals are and the different levels of their involvement, all efforts will be made to apprehend and lay charges on them.
Now, I did not intend for this to be an hour long. I promise you I didn't. But it's like when you just open up the can of worms, so much worm come crawling out. And you just see more and more deception. You see more and more untruthful things that's being shown, that's being said. And there clearly is an agenda going on, you know. In a report way back, somebody had said it, that there must be, it was actually the gentleman who said it, there got to be a business in this. There's a business in weapons coming into the country. There's a business in gangs. There's a business in the taking of lives of so many people per year. There's a business in calling out a certain community so many times, St. James for one. So something is clearly going on here. Now, is there an epidemic going on with the slaughtering of people, whether they're innocent or not? Yes, there is. There's absolutely an epidemic. This is out of control. It's been out of control. But for a nation like my country, where I was born, to now, for the second year in a row, the top three, it has the number one spot, number two spot, depending on which data you're reading from, when it comes to the taking of lives violently. It's a crying shame. It's a crying shame. Now, life is spiritual, right? That's number one. So something definitely is happening in the spirit. The other thing is, though life is spiritual, we're seeing the physical evidence of the demonic. Now, if you noticed, I didn't go so hard with the music, because this time it's not about the music. No, this is really literally political. A political stunt, a political front. And the players that be and the powers that be, they know who is making these movements and making these purchases.
We know the people who are doing it. Yes, write that statement down. We know.
Okay? They're just telling us, the people, whatever they want to tell us and showing us foolishness. Now, I still believe in prayer. I still believe that God is on the throne and the world is still governed by him. Though there's so much wickedness going on in the land, it will all come to an end. One day. One day in that new heaven and new earth, there will be peace. There'll be no more of this mass, what we see here, mass weapons, mass ammunition, and mass burial of violence. So what prompted me, what motivated me, what inspired me to do this video was because I heard the Prime Minister said this.
There now must be a war on guns.
So then I said to myself, well, how do you do that? And so the video was created. All of this that's going on is really setting up the stage for the one world government. Anyways, continue to live on purpose, godly purpose. Thanks for watching.